All right. So last time that we were working on things, we were setting up Pagination and using turbo streams to do infant pagination. We set that up on the people's endpoint so that that list would scroll forever. And there's just some work to do there. We're going to run into problems if we, try and automatically jump to J or something like that. So some things we have to tackle there. But where we actually got really stuck is if we went into a person, we had the pinned activities and then the full list of activities. But that was kind of like a sub resource, and it didn't work right. It didn't feel right the way that the code was working. I think we could have shoehorned it in by pulling some of the stuff up into the controller, but it didn't feel right to be controlling using the people controller to control the activities list. And that's kind of where I got stuck about how to think about it. So, and I think that so I let that percolate for a day, and I think I have a good answer for it. All right, so let's bring this up. So this is what we're looking at. So we have two pinned activities, and then we've got a whole bunch underneath it. So we could go into the people controller, and in the show, we could do something in here with Pagey, where we go pinned activities is something, and the normal activities are something. But then this gets weird because you're going to do something like, I don't know, just pulling this down. So for our activities, we're going to say it's going to be page countless on the on the person dot activities dot order by and then what's that going to be? That's the so this is going to be in the activities. So in here we're doing it based on the sort description. So we could pull that into our controller. And we're going to limit to 50. So we can do something like this. But this is also going to then this is going to be bringing in the params page is what it's going to be using, right? But we're going to have kind of the same thing for the pinned activities, except that's going to be person dot activities dot where pinned but then in here we're going to have pinned page or something like that. It's this is getting gross, and it doesn't feel like I'm solving the general problem. So here's what I was thinking we do instead. So let's kill this activities list. That's something I was thinking maybe a way to go. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do in here is in here we actually let's kill this for a sec as well. So in here, what we're going to want to do is we want to do a turbo frame tag, and this is going to be going to we'll call this activities. Okay, and this is going to okay, so we have our activities. This is going to be going into so we're going to have to set the URL for this, and for this we're going to do activities path. We're going to pass in some stuff here, and we're going to do lazy true. Actually, I think that's am I doing that right? Let me check on the people index. Lazy source is whatever, and we're source Yeah, so we're going to see what the source is there. Okay. Okay, so we're going to pass that in. And in here, we're going to want to pass in what the record is that we want to be pulling stuff. Actually, I'm working on a different project. So now I'm confusing myself if it's record or the activity. Let me see. So if I go to the activities, it's connected to a... So it's going to be the activity record. So for that, we're going to say at person.toSGID. Okay. So if we do this, and we bring up our terminal, because it's going to yell at us. Activities path doesn't exist. You're right, it doesn't. So in here we've got, we do have an index path. Let's add that in. Activities controller doesn't exist because this is a new thing. And in here, so the record so we're going to do params. Let's do record SGID. I'm going to change the name of that. So, okay. And then initially content activities. What are you doing? And let's just constant activities controller. Activities controller. Why is this complaining? What did I do for my route? Resources, activities. Yeah. Yeah, so I was looking for activities controller, which that's not what we want. And it's missing index. Of course it is. So index.html.erb. All right, so let's go back to our let's go back to Joe below. And why is that redirecting? We don't want that to redirect. Let's go and disable JavaScript for a sec. Go back and let's see what this is putting onto the page. So turbo frame. Oop. Well, that's not going to help. No. Turbo frame, lazy is true, ID activities, sources, blah. That's been complete. Okay, because that didn't have, oh, right. So it's going to try and, so when I have that frame, I have that ID equals activities, and it's going to replace that with the matching content. So let's re-enable JavaScript, reload the page, and it's reloading the page. What are you doing? All right, so this is loading that. You give me a whole bunch of stuff. Stuff is good. I'm getting the activities. That's good. Let's disable JavaScript. Go back. Double frame ID is activities. So this should be hitting that path and swapping in that IDs. Content. And div ID equals activities. Now let's check the docs real quick. What am I forgetting here? It's turbo frame ID messages. Yep. Eager load, lazy load. Okay. Turbo frame ID is whatever. Source is whatever. Loading lazy. Yep. I don't want to target the whole page. So once message is loaded, it's going to swap in. That's what I'm doing. What am I missing here? Source is going. Loading is eager loading. Yep, that's right. Source, what it's going to load. That looks right. Why are you redirecting? What am I missing? It's the beauty of not doing these scripted. So if you're ever looking for proof, it's true. All right, so activities, we're loading it from that, which looks like it's happening correctly. We are being lazy. That's working correctly. Let me take a look at what's happening over here. So over here, we are doing, yep. Loading is lazy, source is whatever. And let's do this just to test things out. So in here, let's throw a sleep 5. That'll make that run slower. And over here in the show, we're going to throw in here do loading activities. Wow. Good typing. All right, let's go back. And let's go Joe Blow, and I'm going to grab his loading activities for 5. then it loads. Okay, so that means that we are, let me see when I'm getting into the terminal. So we're doing the get for this, it's completed, and then we're redirecting. Why are we redirecting? I'm not doing anything stupid in that. Controller, nope. Just spin that out. What is up? All right, why are you? Well, you know, for right now, that's okay. Let's work on this page for a moment. Well, instead of getting all stuck up. So over here in the controller, we're getting the record. So this would be the person, for example. So at record dot activities, I think is what we should be able to do. And that's going to give me a bunch of stuff. Cool. Let's kill that 5-second sleep because that's obviously going to be irritating. All right. So we are loading the activities. That's good. So if we look at what we did for the people controller, then that gives us this. So Pagey activities. So in here, let's do at activities equals record activities. We're going to do filtering here. Later. And then and the order on this is the sort date. Just that we have something to scroll with. And I don't know if we're going to need the params on there just yet. All right. So if we do that, and let's just take a look at what, so in the activities, we were spinning those into here. So in here, we can do that. Actually, let's grab both of those things. So we're going to spit out all of the activities. And we're going to do that no activities block still. So that looks reasonable. Let's see what this looks like. Let's do the right code. That looks about right. But we also want, kind of like on the people page, the people index, we want to grab something like that. So if we go to the activities, so if we look at, the filtering is going to get interesting on this probably, but on our index, all right, if pagey.next.present, then turbo tag activities, we're going to do lazy loading. Our source is going to be pagey URL for next. Do loading more. Okay. That seems like a reasonable start. And something messed up, I think, because we're just stuck loading more. Let's see what this gave. So source is activities, record ID is blah, 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 pay and page equals 2. So that looks good, and it's complete. So let's see what the network on that looked like. Activities, blah, 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 blah. So that was the original request. So we didn't load it, try to load in more. Interesting. What did this give me something? Let's reload this page. Let's look at what we're getting. So here's our first get with nothing. So we got it as HTML, and then we hit the page 2 lazy loading. All right. So that looks right with the page 2 on there. Okay. Let me take a look at the activities controller. Okay, that still looks fine. So I'm looking at the select activities, left join activity record, record ID equals whatever, order by, and yes, now we're getting the offset here. So we're getting the limit 6, offset 5, which makes sense for the 5. Good. So it looks like we're getting the right stuff there. All right. So that looks all good. So let's reload this. Let's watch. So again, let's put into here, let's just put a short delay. That way we can see what's going on. And let's shift it around it so we can see what's going on. All right, so let's reload the page. 2, 3, here all comes. We get our, so we got our initial activities here, which looks good. And then we got additional activities here, which is going to be the reduced. And if we look at the terminal, so we're getting that as a HTML. So that looks all reasonable. And this is giving us task 10. Okay, so actually let's go in here and double check to see what we're doing. So if I go back to people 1, which I'm not going to see because that's, yeah. Anyways. Well, hey, we're not redirecting now, at least. That's good. So ID activities. And then a bunch of stuff. So that looks right. So then why are you not? So actually, just for the sake of seeing things, let's go back to the show. Let's render this again. Let's not render this now. So in here, we should be seeing the foobar, my description, no plain text. Over here, we should be seeing what's the order that we're getting on this? Foobar. Oh, those ones are pinned. Never mind. So we're getting no plain text, foobar, my note. No plain text, foobar, my new note. My description 2. My description 2. And then we don't get the second page. So when we hit this load more, so we're actually doing that on a single page. So let's bump out on the activity controller. Let's bump this to 10. That should get it off page. And let's see if we can get this being lazy. All right, so terminal is up. It is off screen. And if I load, it's going to load more. It's doing a get, has a 3-second wait. So that looks all good. And I wasn't watching the terminal. So, all right. So we have our activities, which is your initial, your activity, which is the one that comes in. This is using a reduced layout, which is beautiful. This gets to form inline, and this is for the checkbox, and this is the edit anymore. So if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Anymore should be the first one, so that makes sense. That looks like it's doing the right thing, but it's not going into that load more. Why are you not going into that load more then? So when it comes in, I want to be doing a turbo stream on it. So we are going to want to have that. So in our activities controller, sorry, activities index, we are going to pg URL for params format turbo stream. So if we do that and reload this page, and that is still coming in as a, let me see what this is. Sorry, it's going to want to be on there. We want the URL to have it, not the frame itself. Oh. Unknown keyword params. What did I do wrong there? People index. People controller. Page countless. So it's on the page countless, the params go. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Because that feeds into everything. Page countless activities, items, params, bracket, closing bracket. All right. All right, let's go down to the bottom and let's see what happens if I scroll down. And we're getting as a turbo stream. Wow. Beautiful. Okay. So in here, instead of doing activities index, we're going to do index dot turbo stream dot erb, which is effectively going to be the same. Let's be honest. But kind of like on the index turbo stream, we're going to make sure that we are appending it, and we're going to replace the next. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to append it to activities. Polymorphic render our activities. And we're not going to do this row style. It's going to be just the normal whatever. And we're going to want to be replacing the next activities button. And that is going to be this, loading lazy, source, paging next, loading more. That looks all right. but on our index, we're going to want to, kind of like we did on the people index, we've got the turbo frame tag, next people button. We're going to want to do the turbo frame okay. So this is where we're going to start seeing the generalities and want to kind of extract this into a thing. But so we have our next activities frame. I don't like that's called a button. It's only a button because it's manually loading things. Anyways, we're going to lazy load this. It's going to get triggered. This is going to okay. So then when we render the next page, we're going to append all the activities to the list, and we're going to update that button. And we have lost the page that we were on. Stink. Do I have that? I don't think I do. Boo earns. All right, we'll see if this redirects me and we'll go from there. So if we go to the people show, and it's redirecting, which I don't want it to be doing, but we're not worrying about that right now. All right, so we are here, loading more, loaded more, yay. All right, so that's working. I think it was the right program. All right, so if we go back to activities, let's kill this 3 seconds. Wait. Okay, so we are getting the current record of whatever we're supposed to be looking at. We're grabbing the activities for that record. We're going to be putting filtering into here at some point. Then we do our pagination. On the normal page load, we have our activity structure. We spit out our stuff. And then we put if there's more pages, we put the autoloader. The autoloader is going to hit as a turbo stream. So in that case, we're just going to append the stuff, and then we're going to update the autoloader. All right. So let's refresh this page again. Scroll down, keep scrolling. Let's change the pagination on this to, I don't know, let's do 3 at a time, and let's do a sleep of 1 second. Yeah, so load the page, 1 second, more loads, more loads, more loads. All right, good. So that is working correctly on the activities page part of things. So that's step 1. Now we got to figure out why the heck it's not working right over here. So when people show, okay. So on the people show, this is making a frame with the ID of activities. I'm just going to check this real quick. If I make that an activities frame, and if I go over to the activities, because this is the stuff that we want actually to load on. Okay, on the main activities load, this spits this out. I feel like I'm not connecting a dot. Let me do a quick turbo turbo frame tag lazy loading content with turbo frame skeleton loader. Yep, that's kind of what I'm looking to do. So turbo frame ID is feed, and it's going to be hitting feed. That's basically what I'm doing. Yep, content will be replaced. Yep. Okay, so on home, so this would be on our peoples. We have some other stuff. We have our turbo frame tag feed. And then this is doing a skeleton loader. Over here on the activity feed controller, it's going to get the stuff. Do I need to throw it into a feed, a turbo frame? Is that all it is? That might be all it is. Turbo frame tag, activities frame. I've got a feeling that this is all it's going to take. Yep. That's it. All right, so let's just copy over a few of the styles that are now missing. So if we look at the activities, this had a class on it. So if I go over to people, show, turbo frame, so I'm going to generalize this because this I don't like the name of this, and it's gonna be something that we want to improve. So if I throw that space y4 px6 bottom 6 block, cool. That's getting good. Our spacing is kind of weird. Do I have this in a activities overflow hidden round? Right, because I'm putting the activities div inside of there. So yeah, that class should be on the activities class, which is fine. That probably is reasonable. All right. So now we have our activities. We have the normal list here, and we're loading more. Cool. That gives us that. So I'd want to do some more styling on this, but that's enough to actually put the basics in place. Okay, so let's take a look at the people controller. So I'm doing this 25 at a time. I'm doing this 3 at a time. Well, yeah, let's bump that. All right, so now we have our normal activity list. We're good there. Okay. So at this point, I kind of don't want to lose what we have got going on here. If I do anything stupid. So that's all good. Let's go over to the show. We can get rid of this because we don't need that. Okay. That looks good. That looks reasonable to start as a work in progress. That is a good work in progress. That's fine for work in progress. So let's take a real quick shot about what we'd want to do next for loading pinned activities. So here we're going to still want to do record sgid, but let's throw in here pinned true. And we'd want this to be pinned activities frame. And here's where I think we're going to get in trouble. That's because this, well, yeah, so if we do that, we're going to have the same ID on the page twice. So I think that's going to be what we're going to run into a problem with. So I'm going to have to play with this and see what it says. All right, so let's give that a shot. So if we go up to the activities controller, I don't know, what would this look like? Something like that. Activities, params pinned. Let's do the activity model. Oh, so we got pinned. Okay, so that's if params.pinned .present. All right. Well, let's see what this does. Yeah, and then we're redirecting again. Why are we redirecting again? What did we get for a path? So we're going to the pin to true and record sgid terminal. Actually, so for the sake of testing this, let's go into our show and let's not load the unpinned one. No, we're not seeing 2 requests being shot out. Let's go back to the activities controller. Let's put in here a sleep again. And let's go back. Loading pending activities, loading activities, and actually let's bump that. Yeah, that's okay. 1, 2, 3, and redirect. Interesting. Parameters, pin true, record sgid is blah. So that looks good. And we're getting into, because we're getting into trouble again, because index here is doing activities frame, but in our show, this is the pinned activities frame. So if I go in here and swap that in, and I go back and load, 1, 2, 3, boop. Okay, so the container that we are, so we need to do something to differentiate the containers that we're looking at. And yes, now we're I got it. So in our turbo.hotwired reference frames, eager load frame target, that's what we need to be doing. So this is going to be targeting navigation. That's what we want to be doing. So our target, okay, so target refers to another turbo frame element by ID to be navigated when the descendant A is clicked. Okay, so I think what we can do here All right, so what I think we can do here is so if I change this to foobar, okay, and then if I go over here, just make sure that we're not mixing our things. So I have a pinned activity frame, and if I go target foobar, what does this do? All right, so that's still redirecting because it's not seeing. So what I need to be doing is passing something to say where I want this to go to. Or disabled complete auto scroll. I'm gonna have to play with this a little bit to see what's going on. So if I have a frame with ID of messages, that's gonna get the turbo frame from the other side with messages and pull it in. If I do top, it means it's going to replace the top. If I do turbo frame navigation, it's going to replace the navigation on the page. But what I want to do is have it, so I want in my index this messages to come in, but it has to be dynamic because it's going to be pinned messages or non-pinned messages. But I don't really want to be passing that directly. Like I could do something like so if I go into our controller, which is not a great way to go about, but if I do in here, if I did frame ID equals, and what would this be? Activities frame. And then at frame ID equals, well, if we're doing just something quick and ugly, we could do params pinned dot present So this would be a horrible way to go about it, but just to test that this works, because knowing that it works is better than not. So our frame ID is going to be dependent on the pinned status, and here that's going to be frame ID. So if we reload this page, 1, 2, 3, got her pinned. Okay, so let's get rid of that sleep. Over here in the show, let's bring in both frames, and boom, boom. So we're getting both, and if we scroll, it works. So that is definitely what the problem is. So I think this is kind of gross. I feel like I'm doing something wrong here. So I'm going to read the docs a little bit and see if there's something where I can, because what I really want to be able to do is in our activities, I just want this to be activities like this, and over here on our people show, I want to do search for activities like this. That's what I'm going to do, because what I want to do is say, and with the response that comes in, and that's basically because I have to have a pinned activities frame and a non-pinned activities frame. So I want to be able to pull that differently. But yeah, this basically gives us the ability to do exactly what we're looking to do. And if this is the hack I have to do, then I guess this is the hack I have to do. But that kind of gives me my first stab at doing the multiple activity loading process here. All right. Well, I think I'm going to call that, wrap that for now. And yeah, next video I'll probably have a little bit of an update on what I find here. But anyways, take care.